Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you for tuning in to this month's Developer Coaching News Edition broadcast. I'm Tara Van Cleve, and I'll be your anchor, bringing you the latest updates straight from the Oracle AI database and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure product teams. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A anytime during the session. We have a fantastic lineup of experts standing by to cover today's top stories. So on the line, we have Jeff Smith, the Distinguished Product Manager for Oracle AI Database Tools, and Winston Lin, Principal Product Manager for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Jeff, let's get started. What's the latest scoop?
Hey everyone, I'm excited to be back. Thanks for joining us this month. I know last month was a bit of a circus as we had some technical difficulties down in KubeCon. We did record news for last month, and Tara has posted the link for that, or you'll get the link for that um, in one of the supporting documents. It's, of course, on the Oracle Developers channel, which is where you'll find the recordings for all of these sessions. This is the last one of the month, so thanks for joining us, and let us know if you have any feedback for how you'd like to see these go next year. All right, so our Oracle AI database news. So last month we spent a bit of time talking about the 26 AI release itself, and you can of course go watch that recording if you want to get caught up. But for this month, the main update is the availability of 26 AI Enterprise Edition availability on-prem. So if you go to blogsoracle.com/database, there's a note there, I think from Jenny Ty Smith, talking about how in January, in our 26.1 release update, this will be made available on-prem for our Linux x86 64-bit customers. So that's always the platform that goes out first, generally, for on-prem releases. And then the other popular operating systems like Windows, HPUX, AIX, those will all follow. And if you want the exact details on that, you'll just need to go log into MOS and pull up the regular document ID. We'll have the link for that as well. In the resources, since we are putting out the 26 AI database offering on-prem, that means we're also winding down the beta program. So big thanks to all of the customers that helped participate in the beta program, making the 26 AI release that much better for everyone else. All right, so on to our other updates. In the autonomous database world, in our AI Lakehouse offering, you can now, when you provision the instance, you can optionally provision additional compute resources. So if you're using a really popular data lake feature where you have um, data in popular file formats being stored in like the cheaper object store or S3 layer, when you go to work with that data, whether it's just to get a listing of objects or tables or to actually query that data, we can have extra CPU on hand that you basically set aside and reserve when you create the database to make that processing much, much faster. So you'll see that in the console when you go to create your new 26 AI autonomous data lakehouse instance. Also in the autonomous world, and this is also for serverless, if you're using the Apex autonomous service or if you're using the autonomous JSON service, those now support autonomous data guard. So if you need high availability support, then you can enable that for those services. Also for serverless, this isn't necessarily a new technical feature, but it's a nice thing we do in the console. So one of the benefits of using serverless architecture is you're not paying for dedicated hardware. There's like an elastic pool of resources of CPU that you can like pull from, and we're only charging you when you use that CPU. Now in the console, you can see just how much money you've saved. So I think that's nice. You can see more than just a bill. You can also see how much you saved. In the dedicated space, so if you are reserving dedicated hardware in your tenancy, for those autonomous database subscribers, when you terminate your instance, which for me is always a sad day, when you decide to make that database go away, um, if you want your backups to stick around, they will now. So just because you delete the database doesn't mean we're going to go back into your object store and delete out your backups. Those will remain. For autonomous database customers who are running autonomous database at AWS, if you delete a tenancy, you can now also undelete that instance for up to 72 hours or 3 days. I think I did the math there correctly. So if you've had a bad day and you've accidentally dropped the wrong database, or if you've had a really good day and you fulfilled that Jira ticket that came in the second you got it, and then someone was like, "Oops, I didn't mean to submit that request. Can you undo that? Can you undo that delete?" Yeah, you can now undo that delete for up to 3 days. Okay, so leaving autonomous, going into the Exadata cloud services. So we have ExaCS, Exacloud at customer, and Exadatabase Exascale services. We have new pages in the console, data guard health status. So at any point, you can see exactly what your data guard status is if there's going to be a manual switchover or, gosh forbid, some sort of disaster and there's a failover. So exactly like where does our data stand? Um, what's happening with the data guard standby? So it's just a nice hug saying, hey, if something bad happens, you're good. And here's observability proof of that. Um, Also back to Oracle database at AWS, if a majority of your um, cloud resources are being ran on Amazon Web Services or AWS, and you decide that you want to run OCI Oracle database at AWS, you can now choose to keep your Oracle database resources in OCI. You can keep their secrets, credentials, keys, all of that will allow you to store those directly in your existing AWS key management. So a frequent popular question is, does it matter which one we choose? And really, I would say choose the one that you're already using for the majority of your secrets or your passwords or your credentials. That's just nice flexibility. So if you're already using AWS and you sign up for an Oracle resource there, but you want to keep the keys for that resource in the AWS key management system, then yes, you can do that. You don't have to, but you can. And then finally, for our Apex developers in the crowd, thanks for coming by and showing your support. You may have noticed that when you go to apexoracle.com and log into your workspace to do your sort of hello world or do your prototypes or just to play with the latest and greatest version of Apex, you're getting redirected to our new, simpler URL. So when you want if you want to show off Oracle Apex, you can simply just send them to oracleapex.com instead of apex.oracle.com. One more slide. We always like to share the resources. I know you can't click on these links, but you can read in much more detail, like what's been happening with the 26 AI releases and the new features. We have similar um, documents in there for new features that we deploy in OCI for autonomous. And we have a full blog post on the Data Lake Accelerator for those CPUs you can provision, and you can read more about the data guard health status, and we'll have that in the follow-up email. All right, Tara, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, Winston, over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Winston. I'm the product manager for OCI Functions. So a little bit about what our platform is, just for those who aren't familiar. At OCI, we offer a spectrum of compute options shown here going from left to right. As you move across the spectrum, the platform becomes more managed and takes on more infrastructure responsibility, and that gives customers the ability to focus on their application code. So functions is the personification of the least possible amount of infrastructure management for customers when it comes to OCI. You'll see it all the way on the far right, compared to other options like bare metal, VMs, Kubernetes, and etc. Great. So functions is a great candidate for a number of reasons for certain workloads. Number one, it's pay per use. So customers are only paying when their code is actively executing. When it's sitting idle, you won't be paying a dime. It's autonomous, which means it'll scale automatically based on demand. Again, like if your function is actively being called, then the platform will handle scaling up and also down for you as demand drops. Lastly, it's event driven. It's tightly integrated into the Oracle Cloud ecosystem, so you can trigger your code from a variety of different sources. Great. With that out of the way, have a couple new releases, exciting new releases to share. So walking down the list, number one, users now have an option to configure a larger memory for their function, up to 3 GB. So this is great for demanding workloads and more complex applications. Secondly, we have scheduled functions. Users can now run their functions or trigger their functions on a recurring schedule. I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. Long-running functions. The previous timeout limit for functions was 5 minutes. Users now have an option to run for up to 60 minutes. So that's really going to help a lot of the people who were previously blocked on that timeout. And also response destinations. That's our last new release that we've put out recently. Users essentially will get either success or failure logs of their function execution. Skipping over the 3 GB memory functions, which doesn't have its own dedicated slide, just because that release is a little bit less complex. But we'll start with scheduled functions. We've recently integrated with the resource scheduler service so that users can run functions on a set schedule. So either hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or something custom. Users are free to configure any type of schedule to trigger any function that they've already written. So previously, users were relying on maybe custom cron servers or VMs or scripts to trigger their functions. This is going to help with those type of complex situations and help make it easier for users to set up these schedules. It's going to be available directly from the console or also through the CLI, and obviously integrated with other OCI services, including logging and monitoring. Next new release is exciting. It's long-running functions. We've been working on this feature for over a year. But previously, users were able to run a function up to 5 minutes. And for customers who needed some level of workaround for their functions, they would have orchestration, either functions triggering another function to carry on the work. Functions can now run up to 60 minutes as opposed to the previous limit of 5 minutes. So we received a lot of feedback from various customers who are trying to run more complex workloads, simple AI ML training, reporting or batch jobs that were simply larger, dealing with larger files, different ETL pipeline requirements that would time out. So now functions can run for up to 60 minutes. Users can get started again either through console or CLI. You'll see a couple new fields in there that'll help you get started with this new feature for long running. The last new feature I'll talk about is response destinations. So this feature is going to enable customers to route the success or error results from their function to a couple different destinations within OCI, either the streaming, queue, or notifications. Of course, when you're running a function in detached mode, you want to know after it's all said and done if the function was successfully executed or it failed for whatever reason. So this configuration helps you generate a log to one of these destinations in different scenarios. And users can use those configurations and those logs to trigger either follow-up orchestration or just for their own knowledge, know if their function was triggered successfully or failed. There's some more information up here of how you can get started and how you can configure response destinations for your functions. But all of these new features and how to get started, we'll provide links in the following slide. And like Jeff's, we'll get these links and resources out to everyone.
All right. Thank you, Winston. Okay. So we still have some time left for any questions. I think I saw a couple that were already answered.
I was going to ask Winston for an example of a function that someone might want to run for 60 minutes, but then he answered it in his slides. So took my question away. There was a question from the crowd.
Yep.
I guess confused, because we have a mix of database people on here and cloud people. The function service, in OCI, that's not related to stored procedures running in your Oracle database. It's literal code that you could script in various languages that run on, like you said, Winston, ephemeral resources that we spin up and manage for you, right? It's serverless. So if you had a bit of, do we support Python? I forget.
Yeah, we do.
So you had a bit of Python code that you wanted to run to process some work on a file. Someone drops a file in your object store bucket, right? You could code it to say, hey, when a file pops up here, automatically run this function, right? So instead of like setting up a compute node and having it run off that, right? You can just define your function in the function service. That was my attempt to explain your stuff, Winston.
No, I think you did a great job, Jeff. Yeah, functions is great for people who have custom needs, maybe small scripts or ETL jobs or automations even, right? Something that is typically very simple where you don't want to deal with the infrastructure management, but you also do need to deploy um, some degree of custom code. We support most of the major languages I think customers would be interested in out of the box.
We do have a lot of database customers that I think have use cases for the function realm. So for example, we have some pre-built functions. So instead of you writing your code, you can use code that we've already written for you and invoke that. So for example, our Apex subscribers, if you need to generate, say, invoice PDF docs, um, we have that code in that library already built up into OCI, and you can find the pre-built function and invoke that from your Apex app to generate, your retail billing and whatever sort of Excel or PDF or Word doc you need to generate to attach to an email to send to someone. Um, that seems to be pretty popular. And I think there's like a dozen or several of these pre-built functions, which is like a subset of the function service.
We do have a couple questions that came
Oh,
through. And
cool.
Yeah. Some more examples. What else is functions good for? So maybe I'll continue off what Jeff was talking about with pre-built functions, right? So we have a repository of reusable code chunks essentially to help customers with very common use cases that we see across the business. Things like, if a file lands in object storage, we have a pre-built function that will help you zip or unzip it. Um, we have certain functions that manage authn and authz for PDFs. Um, and we do also see functions for a lot of like streaming related jobs, right? Like we'll see, you know, a particular application that needs to emit something to logging that it doesn't already, right? A user might configure a custom function um, that stores that data in object store or send it to streaming or again something custom. More recently, I think we've also started seeing people use functions to run shorter model training jobs. Um, yeah, so I think the possibilities are endless, but we see those as probably the most common.
Um, Someone's got a common question. I've gotten this several times before. How long does it take to wake up and get your function to run if it's not in memory already?
There is a little bit of a cold start time if the function hasn't been invoked recently, and we see that typically around the 30-second range. But we also do have an offering around it, which is called provision concurrency. So essentially, at a fee, we will keep more instances around for you so that your function will be able to get started in milliseconds without issue.
You can keep it warm on the stove until someone needs it.
Yes.
And then there's another question if the scheduling interface or the scheduling mechanism in the function service is the same as the resource manager in OCI.
Yeah. Uh, Great question. They're the same mechanism. So you can either go into Resource Scheduler and configure schedule for your function, or you can start from the functions in the console. It all leverages the same mechanism. If you create a schedule in one, you'll see it in the other.
What about a function for managing encryption of files in our object store buckets? I mean, they're saying, and if we do that, what happens if the file's really big? Like
Yeah. I think we have some samples actually in the we have a public facing like Git repository GitHub with sample function code, and I know we also have a like pre-built function for this um, for encryption. File size up to 5 GB is typically not an issue. I think customers have found a way around it, even with the memory restrictions that they might have.
Question about what's new in Exadata.
Oh, well, Exadata Cloud Services, you can destroy your dedicated instances and you won't lose any backups that you've got in your object store. For Exadata Cloud Services at AWS, you can undelete in a 72-hour window. Oh, and the data guard health status. So in the console in OCI, you should see pages there that tell you what's going on for your data guard standby instances. So like, hey, what's their status in case there's going to be a switchover and how much data is in what state. And then of course, everything autonomous that literally runs on Exadata hardware. I don't have Exadata specific, like I said, if you're an Exadata customer running on-prem, I don't have updates on that topic this month. But if you're interested in that, I can go see what we have and try to get it to you.
So we are at time, so I will wrap us up.
Saved by the bell. We have to stop.
But we will be back before you know it with more updates from across the Oracle ecosystem. We do this once a month, the second Tuesday of every month. So we will be back next month, and you can check out all of our upcoming events at oracle.com/developer/events. And that's also where you can find all of our replays as well. There's a link to our YouTube playlist on that same page. Thank you again so much for joining us here today, and we hope to see you at the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, folks.